In part 1 Crochet Elements and Projects Tutorial 8, we were making beautiful center for our snowflake. In this tutorial, I will continue working the last round of stitches and complete the project. Begin the next round 5, make 1 chain stitch up and single crochet 3 into the chain space of 8. 1, 2, and 3. Work a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and slip in 2 strands of last single crochet. Then single crochet 3 into the same chain space, 1, 2, and 3. And work a 3 chain picot on top of the last single, chain 3 and slip in 2 strands of the single. Continue single crochet into the same chain space, and single crochet through the next stitch, that is the complex stitch. We've made a single crochet through the complex stitch here, and now begin the petal or element of our snowflake. For this, chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now through the last chain stitch, I'll work 3 picots. First is gonna be a 3 chain picot for this chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and a slip stitch through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook. First picot is ready. Then work a 5 chain picot, chain 5, 4, 5, and a slip through the same chain stitch. And the last picot is a 3 chain picot, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and a slip through the same chain stitch. Here we've made 3 picots through 1 chain stitch. Continue, make a slip stitch through in each of next 5 chain stitches. Insert the hook through the next chain stitch and work a slip, then through the next 3, 4, and the last one, 5. Please do not make the slip stitches tight. They just need to repeat the previous row of chain stitches. Let's continue. Work 7 chain stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on top of the last chain, work a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook. Then work a 5 chain picot, chain 5, 4, 5, and a slip through the same chain stitch. And the last picot is a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip through the same stitch. Then work a slip stitch through in each of next 4 chain stitches. One, 2, 3, and 4. Let's continue. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and work 3 picots again. First is a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip stitch through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook. Then a 5 chain picot, chain 5 and a slip through the same stitch. And the last picot is a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip through the same stitch. Then work a slip stitch through in each of next 3 chain stitches. Insert the hook through the next chain stitch and work a slip. 1, then 2, and 3. Then we need to work a slip stitch through the next chain stitch. But I will work this stitch not only through the chain stitch. I'm inserting the hook through the slip stitch made in this chain and through this chain stitch as well in 2 strands, like this. Then chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and work 3 picots. A 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip stitch through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook, then a 5 chain picot, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a slip through the same stitch, and the last picot is a 3 chain picot, chain 3, and a slip through the same chain stitch. Continue, make a slip through in each of next 3 chain stitches, 1, 2, and the last one 3. Make a slip through the next chain stitch, but insert the hook through the slip stitch and through the chain stitch in 2 strands and work a slip. Then continue, make a slip stitch through in each of next 2 chain stitches, 1, 2. Then again I need to work through this chain. I will insert the hook through the slip made through this chain and through this chain stitch in 2 strands and work a slip stitch. In this case I won't create a big hole. So let's continue, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make 3 picots. Chain 3 and a slip stitch through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook. This is the 3 chain picot, then a 5 chain picot, chain 5, and a slip through the same stitch. And the last is a 3 chain picot, chain 3, and a slip through the same chain stitch. Now make a slip stitch through in each of next 4 chain stitches, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then work a slip stitch through the slip stitch and chain stitch in 2 strands, slip and chain. Now make a slip stitch through the next chain stitch, the last one that we have here, and the next slip stitch work in 2 loops of single crochet that was made through the complex stitch. Let's see what we have here. Here we've made the first beautiful element of our snowflake. It's right on top of the petal that is in the center. Continue into the chain space of 8 here, single crochet 2, 1 and 2. Then work a 3 chain picot on top of the last single, chain 3 and a slip in 2 strands of the single crochet. Then single crochet 3, 1, 2, and 3, and work a 3 chain picot, chain 3, and a slip in 2 loops of single. Repeat again, single crochet 3, 1, 2, and 3. Again, work a 3 chain picot, chain 3, and a slip stitch in 2 strands of the last single. Then work the last 2 single crochet stitches into the same chain space, and the first segment or petal of our snowflake is ready. We worked around the first petal that is in the center. To complete the snowflake, you need to continue And till the end of this round, make 5 more segments like this. Here I made 4 more segments following the same instruction. So here I have 5 petals. Let's continue together, work the last segment and complete the snowflake. So work into the chain space of weight, single crochet 3, 1, 2, and 3. Then work a 3 chain picot, chain 3, and a slip stitch in 2 strands of the last single. Single crochet 3 into the same chain space, 2 and 3, and work a picot. Now single crochet 3 again into the same chain space and work a picot on top of the last single. Chain 3 and a slip in 2 strands of the single. Now single crochet into the same chain space and then single crochet through the next stitch. That is the complex stitch that we've made. Now let's work the beautiful element of our snowflake. Chain 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now through this last chain stitch, work 3 picots. First is a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip stitch through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook. Then a 5 chain picot, chain 5 and a slip through the same chain stitch. And the last picot is a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip through the same chain. Continue, make a slip stitch through in each of next 5 chain stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I remind you that please do not make these slip stitches too tight. They just need to repeat the previous row of chain stitches. Continue, chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and work 3 picots. A 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip stitch through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook. Then a 5 chain picot, chain 5, 4, 5, and a slip through the same chain stitch. And the last 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip through the same chain stitch. Then work a slip stitch through in each of next 4 chain stitches. One, 2, 3, and 4. Work 4 chain stitches, 4, and again 3 picots. A 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip stitch through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook. Then a 5 chain picot, chain 5 and a slip through the same chain stitch. And the last picot, the 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip through the same chain stitch. Continue. Make a slip stitch through in each of next 3 chain stitches. 3. Then work a slip stitch through the, here's the chain stitch. We need to work through this chain stitch, but I will insert the hook through the slip stitch made through this chain stitch and through the chain stitch in 2 strands. Work a slip stitch. Now chain 4, 3, 4, and work 3 picots again. A 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook. Then chain 5 and a slip through the same chain stitch. 4, 5, and a slip stitch. And the last picot, 3 chain picot. Make a slip through in each of next 3 stitches, 3. Then insert the hook through the slip stitch and through the chain stitch and work a slip stitch through. Then make a slip through in each of next 2 chain stitches, 1 and 2, and work a slip through the next chain stitch. Here's the chain stitch, but I will work in 2 strands. Insert the hook through the slip and through the chain stitch and work a slip stitch. Let's continue. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make 3 picots. First is a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip stitch through the 4th chain stitch away from the hook, then a 5 chain picot, chain 5 and a slip through the same chain stitch, and a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip through the same chain stitch. Continue. Make a slip stitch through in each of next 4 chain stitches, 3 and 4. Then work a slip through the slip stitch and chain stitch and 2 strands. Insert the hook in 2 strands and work a slip stitch through. Now make a slip through the next chain stitch, and the next slip stitch goes in 2 loops of single crochet that was made through the complex stitch. The last petal or element of our snowflake is ready. Let's just complete the round. Work into the last chain space of 8, single crochet 2, 1 and 2. Then work a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip stitch in 2 loops of single crochet. Then single crochet 3, 1, 2 and 3. And on top of the last single, work a 3 chain picot. Repeat the same, single crochet 3 into the same chain space, 2 and 3, and on top of the last single, work a 3 chain picot, chain 3 and a slip stitch in 2 loops of single crochet. Then single crochet 2 into the same chain space, 1 and 2. To complete the last round, round 5, make a slip stitch through the first chain stitch on this round. Our beautiful snowflake is ready. You can cut the yarn and hide tails. In this tutorial, we were making this beautiful snowflake. It has 6 petals. In the center, there is a 6-petal flower made of complex stitches. Each complex stitch on round 4 is worked through the stitches on round 1. You can see that they are in front, and the chain spaces, the round 2 and 3 is behind the petals. As an idea, you can add to the center of this snowflake a little beautiful crochet puffy button that we made in previous Crochet Elements and Projects Tutorial 7. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more beautiful projects to crochet.